You're born into chaos. Around you, in the burrow, in the tunnels, in every space that exists, there are thousands of others. So many others that the walls are pressed with bodies. So many that the air itself is suffocating. You don't know what alone is. You've never had it. You were born into a world where every resource is screaming and fighting and dying. Your mother gave birth to you in a tunnel packed with lemmings that aren't hers. Some are eating your siblings. Some are eating each other. Cannibalism isn't cruelty here. It's just what happens when there are too many mouths and not enough moss. The lemming population cycles. Every 3 to 4 years, something happens in the Arctic. The conditions align. The food is abundant, the weather cooperates, and the lemmings breed like the world is ending. Because in their bodies, in their neurons, in some deep instinct that evolution put there, they know that the abundance won't last. So they breed and breed and breed, until there are so many of them that the burrow itself is collapsing under the weight of their own numbers. You're 2 weeks old. You've never felt empty space. You've never had a tunnel to yourself. You've never felt what quiet is. All you know is pressure. Bodies pressing against your body, heat and hunger, and the constant manic scramble for food that barely exists anymore. Skip forward 1 month. The numbers have exploded. The population has quadrupled in just weeks. Where there were hundreds, there are now thousands. Where there were thousands, there are now tens of thousands in an area the size of a city block. And the food is gone. Completely gone. The moss has been eaten down to the dirt. The vegetation has been stripped. There's nothing left. The desperation is visible now. You can see it in how the lemmings move. Frantic, panicked. They're eating lichen off rocks. They're eating bark from plants that are barely alive. They're eating each other more now. Not out of hunger, but out of pure instinct to reduce the competition. It's genocide and survival happening at the exact same time, and you're in the middle of it. Your mother hasn't fed you in days. She's starving too. The breeding impulse that made her give birth to you is now replaced by something else, something older, something that says, run. Skip forward 2 months. It starts in the north. A few lemmings emerge from their burrows and they run. Not walking, running. Fast and desperate and without direction. It's not planned. There's no leader. There's no map. It's just pure instinct that says this place is dead and you need to leave. But then more emerge. Hundreds of them. Thousands of them. The whole population, driven by starvation and overcrowding, just pours out of the burrows in a massive wave. It looks like a flood. It looks like the ground itself is moving. You run with them. You have no choice. The bodies around you are moving, and your body moves with them. The instinct is so strong it overrides everything else. You run north. You run east. You run because everyone is running, and stopping means death. But here's what your body doesn't understand. Your body doesn't have a map. The lemmings are running away from the starvation, but they're not running toward anything. They're just running. And the landscape around you is changing. The familiar tundra is disappearing. Mountains appear, rivers appear, and then the ground just stops. You're running at full speed with 10,000 others, and the ground in front of you just ends. There's a cliff, a drop into a river canyon, a chasm that goes down so far you can't see the bottom, and you're running straight at it. This is where the myth comes from. The myth that lemmings are so stupid they commit suicide by jumping off cliffs. And the myth is almost true, except they're not stupid. They just don't understand what a cliff is. They don't understand that the ground can end. Their bodies were designed for a landscape that's mostly flat. The tundra doesn't have cliffs. It doesn't have drop-offs. It doesn't have edges. But sometimes, when you're running in a panic, away from a starvation that's killing everything behind you, the earth just ends. You feel the ground disappear under your feet before your brain registers what's happening. You're falling. For a second, for just a fraction of a second, you're falling through open air and there's nothing beneath you. And then you hit the rocks below. Around you, lemmings are still falling. The migration is so large, so desperate, so overwhelming that they're just pouring over the edge. Thousands of them, bodies hitting rock. The river below is choked with their small forms. But you didn't fall. You managed to grab a ledge. Your claws found a grip and you stopped. You're hanging on the side of a cliff, looking up at more lemmings pouring over the edge, and looking down at the ones who didn't make it. You pull yourself back up and you run. because the panic is still there. The instinct to run is still stronger than the instinct to live. Skip forward 3 weeks. You've made it. You found a valley with vegetation. You're not starving anymore. The population has collapsed. Most of the lemmings didn't make it off the tundra. Most of the ones who started the migration are dead. The landscape behind you is littered with bodies. The population will stabilize now. For a few years, there will be peace. Enough resources, enough space, enough quiet. And then, in 3 or 4 years, the conditions will align again. The food will be abundant. Your descendants will breed like the world is ending. Because in their bodies, in their neurons, in the same deep instinct that was in yours, they'll know that the abundance won't last. The cycle will start over. And the lemmings, in their desperation to survive, will run themselves off cliffs again. Not because they're suicidal, not because they're stupid, but because they're caught in a cycle that evolution designed for a world that doesn't exist anymore. The tundra is changing. The cycles are shifting. The abundance doesn't come like it used to. The starvation is lasting longer. And every few years, fewer lemmings make it through. But they'll keep running, because that's what their bodies know how to do.